We'll hop on to our next actor to make a comeback. Now, something that actually doesn't happen very often, but just so happened to work out in this time, as he told me in comments and messages before we started the podcast, great minds think alike, because Ben and I have the same actor who would like to make a comeback. Now, Ben, would you like to say who our actor, who we both thought should make a comeback, is?
I'm too excited. I'll let you say it.
All right. Well, our choice for our actor who should make a comeback is one of the greatest improv comedy actors of the 90s. He is a superstar of SNL history. He is the best Irish-sounding Canadian in the world. I'm talking about Mike Myers.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Mike Myers had a great career in the 90s. He came out of SNL like a firing cannon. He was basically one of the leading break-through-the-wall kind of guys in the SNL movies with Wayne's World. And he really parlayed that into just a supremely successful comedy career in the film industry. He has franchises such as Austin Powers, which is probably his biggest franchise. Then you have, like I said, Wayne's World and its sequel, which were both very funny. You have what should be more recognized as a film that people should watch nowadays, I Married an Axe Murderer. That is a classic comedy. It's very funny. And maybe his most successful financially series is Shrek, which they are some of the most brilliant DreamWorks cartoon films ever made. Super funny. Any age can enjoy those films. And I think that he, of all people, he fell out of the spotlight. He did The Love Guru, and it just kind of killed his career. I think that he deserves a comeback more than almost a lot of other actors because he only really had one or two bad films, and it just stopped. What do you think about his career as far as when he was successful, Ben?
I agree. I agree that Shrek was probably what he's going to be the best of all that because that could be for kids and all. And he had a good stuff except for one or two went down as a not so well as the rest. And just to keep it brief because I don't want to go too much into it, but I think under the right material and the right other people, he could come back great and come back better than whatever the Love Guru did that made it downwards.
What I found with the Love Guru in particular was that some jokes a few years before that might have worked better than they did. We became more of a politically correct culture, and there were a lot of stereotypical jokes in that really just don't fit with our modern society. Not as far as the Canadian stuff, but as far as what he was. And nowadays, you just can't make that work. If that movie came out in, let's say, 1993, I think that might have worked. What do you think about Love Guru?
I agree that parts were offensive to people, and that it probably one of the reasons why there wasn't any movies post that movie.
Now, what do you think about his prime in his career? Do you have any opinions on the films that he did that you'd like to go more in depth on?
I knew there was some trivia where in 2000 he was supposed to come out with a Sprocket movie, but he got legally, things happened with that where they're trying to sue him. But as far as in the prime, I think I would love to see a Wayne's World 3 and an Austin Powers 4, period.
I totally agree. There actually have been rumors about an Austin Powers 4 going around for the last 2 years.
The rumors were over 11 or 12 years post, and people were like, it's 14 years, is this ever really going to happen? So, and that's why I say, but then I thought, okay, then it's really not post 12 years here. But then, out of nowhere, I'm watching, I don't like the 2010s versions of SNL. They're not as good as the early 90s. But out of nowhere, on one December 2014 episode, for 4-minute clip, the satellite goes out to that British UK singer guy, and it's freaking Mike Myers back in this Dr. Evil thing with the cat back, who the cat wasn't in the third movie. And he goes on this whole 4-minute rant thing about North Korea in the interview, and I'm like, that was maybe my only hope that maybe one day he'll be back as Dr. Evil in Austin Powers 4, because that just the 4 minutes were priceless alone just to see him back in it, SNL in December 2014, since the last time was July 2002's Gold Member. I was like, that I just can rewatch those 4 minutes again and again over YouTube clips and be like, he still has it. He could still do well in a Wayne's World 3 and Austin Powers 4, though I didn't think Shrek needed a fourth when it had 3 and 4. And I think there's rumors where there will be a Shrek 5, but I'm more like his like live action stuff. And you're right, I did only see brief parts of the Axe Murder, but I'm more into him from Wayne's World and Austin Powers, not so much from the Axe one. And he did do a cameo in Inglourious Bastards in '09, but that was too little too late from getting the down spiral from Love Guru. But to sum everything up, I believe that both Joe Pesci and Mike Myers still have it in them to come back with new ways of making this new way of their old and new well again, to both come back great.
All right, and do you have any opinions, Marquise, on Mike Myers during his prime? We're going to talk in a minute about how we can make a comeback. I have a detailed thing I'm going to go on, but I want to know what you think about him when he was in his prime and what kind of stopped him.
So my introduction to Mike Myers was actually Shrek. I was probably 5 or 6 when it came out. I really enjoyed it. To this day, it's probably one of my favorite animated films. I just really love his comedy, especially as Shrek. He was total opposite of the donkey, and that just really worked. I haven't seen movies like Wayne's World, actually, or even Love Guru. I heard a lot of bad things about it, so I probably won't, but I will check out Wayne's World and I have the chance to hear this on everybody's top 10 comedic movies of all time. But I have seen some Austin Powers movies. I thought that was really funny. I love James Bond, so for it to be like a comedy on that spoof, basically, it's really just interesting and intriguing for me. I would just love to see him do that. I think he's really good at getting like a dry humor type of thing, and also a satire on society. So hopefully he can come back and do his thing.
All right, and do you have anything to say, Ben, about what Marquise just said?
Just that I agree with everything he just said.
Okay, good. All right, now I'm going to discuss how I think he could make his comeback and how he could successfully do that. All right, so like we went through, he did So I Married an Axe Murderer, Shrek, Austin Powers, and Wayne's World. That is 4 franchises that made a lot of money. Well, 3 franchises made a lot of money in a very successful smaller film. The Love Guru seemingly killed his career, but when I've done more research, I actually found out that was more just the kind of the kick in the pants he needed to settle down from doing so many films and become more of a dad. He had some kids, he wanted to spend more time with them, and I totally respect that. But it's been several years now. His kids are getting a little bit older, and we need more hilarious comedy. And what really kicked that off for me was, like you said, Ben, that SNL cameo. It was absolutely amazing.
Not only that, but it was out of nowhere. Like, it really was a surprise. After when it goes from the whole how do you say, the gray stuff where it cuts out of the British singer and then out of nowhere shows him like that, when in these days so many things are not a surprise, where we see it in like spoilers and things so much in advance, it really was like a surprise where it wasn't spoiled beforehand, which is rare these days. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm glad to hear your excitement over it.
That's what made it the best, like that it was a surprise. When I watched it live, the show, that night, and watched first the opening of whoever the host was, and then how they did the Sam Smith thing, how Smanson just cuts out with whatever that great stuff is called, and then boom, there he is, a lot older post the goal #1 with the cat back, who was only in the first 2 and not in the third. It's great to see the cat back when the cat wasn't in gold member, and a 4-minute thing with North Korea, the Sony jokes and interview and all that with it. It was like a surprise cameo, not just cameo, but surprise, and just showed that cameo was the only hope way where in 13-40 years post the third movie that maybe just one day Austin Powers 4 may possibly one day come back.
I totally agree. I think that cameo really brought the live to Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, the live back, the surprise, and the nostalgia.
We also basically saw him get to do a documentary. And I don't know if you've ever seen makings of documentaries. They are such meticulous things. They take years to actually make. And he did a documentary called Supermensch, I believe that's how you say it. Supermensch, on Shep Gordon. I'm sorry, I have a Michigan accent. He's a band manager of some huge 70s rock groups like Alice Cooper and Pink Floyd, many more. And so that took up a lot of his time, step behind the camera, do his first directorial movie, which was a documentary. And he does actually appear in the documentary I Am Chris Farley, talking about Chris Farley, the former SNL star and actor, which I think is also great. How I think that he can actually make a comeback has something to do with SNL. I think that what he needs to start up with first is do a sequel to one of his super hits. Biggest probably being Austin Powers. It was his biggest live action series and most popular live action series. Not only that, but on top of the coming back to series you've already done, we have seen that recently with the Dumb and Dumber 2 and several other series that are coming back from like 13, 14 years ago, not only in film but on TV. And on top of even that, we have to see him after do a successful comeback with a series that you've already been known for. You'll get that buzz. You'll get that easy box office money. Do a buddy comedy with a current star. Find a Will Ferrell or somebody else. Do a buddy comedy. So you're not the main headline, but brings the younger audience to see you, right? So then they see you go, oh, Mike Myers, I remember seeing you in Austin Powers when I was 8 or 9, and you were hilarious. Next thing I think he needs to do after doing a movie with a current comedy star is do an indie that will get him some critical buzz. You want to get the critical audience behind you so that when your next big movie comes out, you have that little bit of a boost, that 5% that can be swayed from your past. So Mike Myers in, Goofball Superstar. But they look at it as, oh, Mike Myers, who was just in, this critical little tiny darling that did great at Sundance, I actually found him funny now versus where I thought he was before, which was just a goofball.
I think he would be better in this new stuff that you're saying if he worked with other people, because I saw a lot of the things about him was that he always was a one-man show and that it was hard to work with, it said. So if he was able to work with other people in a way where it's not just about him, but about him and everybody else, then those future movies that you say in that way would be more successful.
Do you guys think that if he did a movie with somebody like Kevin Hart, do you think that would really help him or hurt him in a sense?
I think that Kevin Hart is still a box office draw, but he has a 2-year expiration date in my mind. I find him very funny. I enjoy him a lot. But he has a shtick, and he's almost the same person, like Melissa McCarthy. She does the same thing in a lot of her movies, and it becomes something like, I've seen her in this, I've seen her in this. Kevin Hart in Get Hard is a movie I found somewhat enjoyable, but I was like, he's just Kevin Hart. Same guy as in the ride-along.
I just want to say I have nothing bad at all to say about Kevin Hart for 2 reasons. Number 1, he's from Philadelphia like me.
Okay.
And number 2, I first saw him in his little cameo clip piece in the 2005 summer blockbuster great comedy, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, when he's inside that next door.
Yeah.
So, in summary, Philadelphia, woo! Philly, and 40-Year-Old Virgin cameo clip scene where he started off when he was only 25 years old.
But the fact that he's a shtick, I don't know how much longer that's going to last. How long until the audience goes, just Kevin Hart playing Kevin Hart again?
I understand.
My last thing on Mike Myers to making his comeback is more frequent SNL. I want to see him host SNL a couple times, because every time he is on SNL, it gets news on BuzzFeed, and the internet, Twitter blows up about it.